So if you'll turn in your Bibles to John chapter 10, and I will try not to keep us over again like I did last time, but no promises. I explained how much I love the book of John, but I really do enjoy what John records for us about Jesus' life. And so we have come to a place in John chapter 10 where Jesus is talking about himself, about who he is and the role he plays. And last week we saw Jesus addressing a crowd who had come to find him on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, asking about when he arrived, and then Jesus made the statement, "I am the bread of life." So here in John chapter 10, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees. And again, Jesus offers another statement. Actually, he makes two statements about his role that he fulfills in the grand plan of redemption for the world. And so in John chapter 10, Jesus makes two statements. And we'll be looking at the first one Jesus makes in John chapter 10, and next week we'll be looking at the second. And so in John chapter 10, we'll be looking at verses 1 through 10. "Verily I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him, because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice." Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore Jesus said again, "Verily, very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief only comes to steal, and kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." May the Lord bless the reading of his holy word. So Jesus makes the statement, "I am the sheep gate," or "I am the gate." So for us to understand a little bit about what Jesus is talking about when he says, "I am the gate," in this illustration to the Pharisees, we have to understand exactly what a sheepfold or a sheep pen is. Well, to put it simply, a sheepfold or sheep pen is a circular barrier or palisade in which the sheep herd is then herded into, which typically goes through a single gate, to be sheltered in during the night, that is used to protect them from thieves, from the elements, and from predators. But the problem is there are actually two types of sheep pens. So the first sheep pen is pretty much a temporary sheep pen. And these pens are typically made from branches or thorny bushes or whatever the shepherds may find, and they have been placed into a circle. And then once the sheep have all been herded into it, they place another piece of bush over the entrance. And the whole purpose of this is to actually keep the sheep from wandering around. Now, you may be thinking, well, branches and bushes don't offer that much of protection from thieves and robbers and predators, and you're right. Because usually when this type of sheep pen is used, the shepherds sleep with their flock. They watch over them during the night. They make sure no wolf, bear, lion, or thieves are able to come at them and take them away during the night. An example of this is found actually probably in Luke 2, verse 8, where the shepherds were living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks by night. This is an example of a temporary sheep pen, because the shepherds are watching after their flocks at night. The second type of sheep pen is a more permanent one. It's a permanent structure which is actually made out of stones that have been erected into a wall which is sometimes between 4 and 6 feet high. Sometimes there's a roof over them, sometimes there's not, depending on what they're used for. These permanent sheep pens were constructed at the base of the hill. Now what makes these sheep pens different from the temporary ones where the shepherds are sleeping with is that the shepherds didn't have to stay with their sheep. There was a gate. And so what they would do is they would herd their sheep into the pen. They would shut the gate. And either an under-shepherd, one who is learning the trade of being a shepherd, a porter or a gatekeeper, would be tasked with watching over the sheep until the shepherd returns the next morning. And normally the under-shepherd, gatekeeper, or porter would only let the shepherd into the pen only if it was the shepherd. Now sometimes this makes it a little bit more difficult because sometimes a sheep pen may hold more than one flock. More than one flock would be housed in a pen, so a gatekeeper would have to be aware of who was coming in, how many they were coming in with, so when they left, they would leave with the right amount of sheep. So when Jesus was using this illustration, to which the Pharisees did not understand what Jesus was saying to them, I don't think they didn't understand the illustration of what a sheep pen was. I'm sure they knew what it was, but they didn't get the whole point of the gate and what the story had to do with them in the first place. They didn't get to the thieves, robbers, what the gate guard, the gate, and the sheep all had to do with anything. So Jesus repeats the statement. It's always important to recognize when Jesus repeats the same thing multiple times in a single passage. Jesus repeats the same thing, I am the gate. And while he repeats the statement, he gives them a little more information about why he is the gate. And there is a reason. You see, the first reason is the obvious one. The purpose of the gate. It allows people to enter in and out. It offers protection to the sheep, for it keeps the predators at bay. It keeps the sheep together. There is even a person who is assigned the duty of maintaining that gate, remains closed and is only accessible to those who are allowed in to the pen. The gate helps to distinguish who is welcome to enter versus those who come in by other means. Over the stone wall, under it, sneaking in, that do not require them to go through the gate. You see, when we have people over, we tend to invite them through the front door, right? Because they are our guests, they are welcomed. But when people don't use the door and they're